Hello guys, Jerry speaking. Welcome to Bedtime Stories, episode number 205. It's been a long time since I've done a Bedtime Stories episode. And Jerry Joe, Back in the Future, written by, illustrated by Kim Smith, published by Pop Classics. So let's read it now, shall we? So we got for us Back in the Future, based on a movie written by Robert Zemeckis, having announced his last name. Anyway, and Bob Gale, illustrated by Kim Smith. Anyway, that's what it looks like. Anyway, Robert Zemeckis, having announced his last name. Anyway, it was seen here in the book. Yeah, I haven't pronounced his last name, so. But anyway, I'll let somebody else explain. Sorry about that. But anyway, next. It was Marty McFly, so there you go on that. Anyway, it was copyrighted 2018 by Universal Studios, all reserved. Anyway, this is Marty McFly, and it is 1985, okay? And Marty lives in a town called Hill Valley, in the state where it was founded by the mayor called Goey Wilson. Okay, makes more sense. Anyway, makes sense in a way. So there you go with that. It's not founded by her. I was just joking around about that. But anyway, next page. Anyway, Hill Valley is a friendly town with a courthouse that's famous because of its broken clock. Ugh. The clock stopped 30 years ago. Jesus. After it was struck by lightning, today the people of Hill Valley wanted to make sure the clock is reversed. Exactly, but from 1955 to 1985. You know. Save the clock tower, you know. Tower, you know, just makes sense in any way from the mayor, you know. That's just me, of course, even though it's 1955, you know. That's just me, of course. And should have not have been happening, you know. If you watch this, Grandma Jefferson Heaven, this is for you. But anyway, next page. Anyway, Marty's best friend is a scientist named Dr. Emmett Brown. Marty calls him Doc, okay? Doc is always making cool inventions like an automatic dog food feeder, okay? And a giant guitar amplifier, okay? Makes sense in any way. But Marty's life at home is not so cool. Jesus. Marty's parents, George and Lorraine, didn't seem to love each other very much. Wow. His brother Dave and his sister Linda are always arguing. Why? You know, I don't know what happened to them at the time, so it just messed up. Jesus. Next page. Anyway, and George has a mean boss named Biff Tayan. Biff is a bully. He always pushes George around and make him do extra work. Why? Anyway, Marty wishes his father would stand up to Biff. But George doesn't have the courage. One night, Doc reveals his newest invention to Marty. He built a time machine in the car. Wow. Even though it's according to the movie, Steen saying like 88 miles per hour, 85 miles per hour, 95 miles per hour, and boom! You know, that's me, of course. It was good enough. Range enough. Next page. Anyway. The way I see it, Doc explains, if you were going to build a time machine in a car, why not using some style? Okay, it makes more sense. Anyway, the time machine used a special fuel called plutonium. I haven't announced this word, sorry. Now, pulling them generates 1.21 kilowatts, okay, of electricity. Electricity powers the Flexa club there, okay? Speed equals 88 miles per hour, okay? Makes sense in any way. I was going to say 90, but I couldn't. But anyway. First carburetor speed, time travel. That makes sense to me. So yeah, that have to make sense to make more sense in any way. So there you go in that. In that platform. So there you go. Next page. Anyway. When Marty test drove the time machine, wow, he accidentally time traveled to 1955. 4 years earlier. It was long before the mall had been built. Okay? But before the time machine has been invented. Wow. Jeez. I mean, at the time, yes, it makes sense to Back in the Future fans, somewhat me. You just have to make sure that happens next in between those movies like this. You know, that should be, of course. And the Scarecrow got hit by a car. Jeez. Anyway. Next page. Anyway. Marty knew he had to go home. So he had hit the time machine, went to the search for the young Doc Brown, okay? Hoping the time machine inventor could be invented to help him get back in the future. Exactly. Marty discovered that Hill Valley looked very different in 1955. Now, a nice place to live. Yeah, exactly. Even though it's a bad decision to make Thunder and Lightning, you know, in a hard, terrible place. You know, that's me, of course. You know, that's just how things work, you know. Next page. Anyway, the cars look different. The clothes look different. But the clock was working fine because it was still 1 week before. The lightning bolt was striking. But before Marty could find young Doc Brown, he could find his parents in the sewer shop. In 1955, George and Lorraine were teenagers. Just like Marty. Okay? Wow. Even though it makes sense in any way, even though it's a good book in any way, even though it makes sense in such terms like that, you know. That's just me, of course. Even though they're days right now, but jeez. I had to put this up somewhere so that we can more safe keeping it to finish in the rest of Bedtime Stories episodes. That creak was annoying. Next page. Anyway. And that bully, Biff, was still pushing poor George around and, he's making him do his homework. Why? Anyway, Marty defended George and accidentally hit Turford with his parents' romance. Now Lorraine like Marty because he stood up for Biff. This is a problem. If George and Lorraine didn't fall in love and marry, how can they ever have kids? Jesus. Do you ever wish that the bullying can stop? Please? Thank you. Even though it's 1955 at the time. But that just made no sense to me. You know, that's me, of course. Next page. Anyway. Marty looked at the photo of himself with his brother and sister, David and Linda, was starting to disappear. God. As they has never been born. Jeez. Marty located the house and the young Doc Brown and introduced himself. My name is Marty, and I'm from the future. I came here in the time machine that you invented, and now I need 121 kilowatts of electricity to get you back in the year 1985. Doc didn't believe him. Jesus. So Marty took Doc to the time machine, but Doc had bad news. There's no platinum in 1955. Why? Anyway, an only ball of lightning can generate that kind of power. Fortunately, we never know when or where lightning will strike. Myron told Doc the story of the clock tower. The lightning bolt would strike it in just a few days. In the beginning of the movie, why bother? Secondly, this is not how it works that way. You know, that's just me. Anyways, next page. Anyway, Doc quickly put together a plan if we're going to harness the energy from the lightning and we can send you back in the future. Exactly. Wire is stretched from the clock tower down the street. Lightning strikes the clock tower at exactly 10:04 p.m. Which right now it's 9:27 p.m. which I'm taping this from, okay? 1.21 kilowatts of electricity travel down the wire. Car travels at 88 miles per hour. Okay? Hook touches wire and sends electricity into flux coupler. Yeah, I have to agree with this 100%. You have to do something about this. One bit. Yup. Next page. Anyway. But Marty, Doc said, before you leave 1955, you have to make sure your parents fall in love. Otherwise, you and your brother and sister will never have been born. Yeah. Marty spent the next few days trying to make his parents fall in love. Marty begged George to invite Lorraine to the school to dance. Jesus. Both George liked Lorraine, and he was too shy to ask her. Marty checked the photo again, and he saw that he was starting to fade away as well. Jesus! He had to do something. I don't know what to do next in this movie, but, you know, that's just me, of course. Even though it's okay, you know, it just feels like it, you know, just make it up for it, you know. That's just me, of course. So there you go. He needs to hurry. Next page. Anyway, Marty, remember that his father looked like in science fiction? So that night, Marty sneaks into George's bedroom dressed like an alien. Jesus. I am Darth Vader from planet Vulcan. Now, Star Wars references, ladies and gentlemen. Marty said, if you don't invite Lorraine to the school dance, I will melt your brain. Jesus. Anyway, the trick worked. George found the courage to speak to Lorraine again. That is good news. Thank God. Even though it's a great opportunity, good idea to make more sense in any way. Even though it's good. Thank God that was over. Anyway. Next page. Anyway. But Marty knew he will also have to teach George to find the courage to stand up for himself. Things work out perfectly. George liked Lorraine so much, they stood up for her to protect her from Biff. Yup, exactly. You have to ignore Biff, you know? Do something, you know? At least Biff is not your friend anymore. George, please. Thank you. Next page. Anyway. And that night, George and Lorraine danced, kissed, and fell in love. Marty's plan worked. Yup, exactly. At least do something about this. They dated like no ever was. You know, just the fact that they want to do something about this whole dance between the dance and fell in love with each other. You know, at least do something about this, you know, instead of just lightning struck everybody. Makes sense to me, you know. enchantment under the sea, you know. So that's just me. Next page. Anyway. And just in time as well. Because they are very night, lightning was going to strike the clock tower. Doc put his plan in motion. He attended the giant wire of the clock. Jeez, why? Well, Marty raced down the street, speeding up to 88 miles per hour. But then a tree fell on the wire, snapping it. Great Scout. It's Great Scout, something like that. I don't know. Doc raced down the 6 cable before the clock struck for tail 4. Yup. And what did it say before it struck tail 4? Something else, please. Can you at least plug it in? Please? Thank you. Next page. Anyway. And not thunder, please! Doc commanded the cables just as Marty drove under them and lightning struck the clock tower. Please tell me it was good. Thank you. It better not be lightning, please. Thank you. So, as they went, you gotta do something, but, you know, that's just me. Next page. Anyway. The electricity power of the Fuchs Cavalier and the time machine returned to 1985. Mario was saved in his own time. Thank God it was over. And what is this? What is all of this? You know, this is not Back in the Future anymore. This is like the Pinball Wizard movie. I don't know. The Time Machine movie. What does it say? Next page. Anyway, now that because George had learned to stand up for himself, things at home were different now. George and Elaine love each other. Anyway, his brother Dave and his sister Linda didn't argue anymore. Thank God. And I'm almost finished your waxing your car, Mr. McFly. Oh, man. Well, okay. And Biff never bullied George again. Well, that's good. In fact, now Biff worked with George. Thank you. Anyway, George even published a science fiction novel. It was based on a dream he had when he was just a teenager. At least George thought it was a dream. Okay. It makes sense to anybody, you know. Would have been nicer because even though, for me at least, even though it's a good idea at least. You know, that's just me, of course. And, yeah, that's just me. From that day on, Marty and Doc had made more exciting adventures in the past, present, and future. So that was that, even though it was a up, and away difference. From Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer. Well, Christmas was just like 4 months away from now. You know, that's just me, of course. So there you go on that. And yeah, that's what you know about that. So yeah. So that was Back in the Future from 1985 movie. What do I think about this book? I think it was amazing. So far, this book was a successful book to read. That was the Bedtime Stories episode number. Let's just say 205. Hope you enjoy it. Stay tuned. Next one's gonna be another brand new episode of Bedtime Stories. 206. I am not sure what book I'm gonna read next, but it's gonna be about either Minions or Little Mermaid. In order to pay tribute to Pat Carl, who's the voice of the Sea Witch. Now, man, excuse me, I gotta get ready for uploading this and go to bed. Till next time, salute Joseph, bye, piece of paper. We can move this episode till Wednesday out. See ya.